Here I am in a computer lab, surrounded by all these functioning devices. But what happens when they no longer work? Or when the newest and latest device comes and takes their place? E-waste is the fastest growing problem in the world. Americans alone discard an estimated 150 cell phones and 48 million personal computers. Now all these electronics are discarded into landfills or incinerators. We're losing precious metals, and some of these chemicals are leaking into our soils and groundwater. So what does this mean for our environment?
To put things into perspective, the U.S. alone throws away enough tires each year to encircle the planet almost 3 times, throws away an amount of disposable diapers each year that if linked end to end would reach to the moon and back 7 times, and throws away enough office paper each year to build a wall 11 feet high across the country from New York City to San Francisco. The U.S. is also the leading producer of trash, with each person producing an average of 4.5 pounds of trash per day. So now that we have all this trash, what do we do with it?
On today's episode of Crash Coursable, we will be talking about solid and hazardous waste. The specific topics that we will cover are what solid waste and hazardous waste is and why they are problems, how to deal with solid waste, why reusing and recycling is so important, a case study, types of recycling, and the advantages and disadvantages of burning or burying solid waste.
What are solid waste and hazardous waste, and why are they a problem? Humans produce huge amounts of solid waste that go unused and pollute the environment. Solid waste is any unwanted or discarded material that we produce that is not a liquid or a gas. There are 2 types, industrial solid waste and municipal solid waste. Industrial solid waste are produced by mines, agriculture, and any other industries that supply goods and services. Municipal solid waste, also known as garbage, is produced by our homes and our workplaces. In developed countries, most MSWs, municipal solid waste, is buried in landfills or burned in incinerators, while in developing countries, most ends up in dumps where it is scavenged by the poorer classes. Now, on the other hand, hazardous or toxic waste threatens human health and the environment because it is poisonous, dangerous, or chemically corrosive or flammable. Surprisingly, many of these are found in our homes, such as disinfectants, paints, dry cell batteries, pesticides, and gas. The greatest producers are chemicals, mining industries, and the military. There are 3 classes of hazardous waste. These are organic, such as pesticides, such as those produced by nuclear power plants. Did you know that radioactive waste must be stored safely for 10,000 to 240,000 years, depending on what radioactive isotopes are present? There are 2 reasons for sharply reducing the amount of hazardous waste we produce. At least 3/4 of these materials represent an unnecessary waste of the world's resources. Studies show that we could reduce resources use and reuse and recycle up to 90% of the world's municipal solid waste we produce by using existing technology, waste prevention, and reusing and recycling the materials we already use. Also, in producing the products we use, we create huge amounts of air pollution, greenhouse gases, water pollution, and land degradation.
We can deal with the solid waste we produce in 2 ways: waste management and waste reduction. Waste management is a way in which we attempt to reduce the environmental impact of MSW without seriously trying to reduce the amount of waste produced. The second approach is waste reduction. We produce way less waste and pollution, and the waste we do produce is seen as potential resources to be reused, recycled, and composted. However, there is no single solution to this massive, giant waste problem that we have, so analysts call for an integrated waste management. Integrated waste management is a variety of strategies for both waste reduction and waste management. So, if this is such a big issue, how can we make a difference? We can start by following the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce consumption and live a simpler lifestyle. Reuse by buying clothes from thrift stores, bringing a refillable coffee cup to the coffee shop, and recycle items like plastic, metal, and glass. Now that we know the 3 R's, why are they so important to the sustainability of our planet?
Why is reusing and recycling materials so important? Reusing items decreases the use of matter and energy resources and reduces pollution and natural capital degradation. Recycling does so to a lesser degree. Reuse. It involves cleaning and using materials over and over and thus increasing the typical lifespan of a product. The pros of it decreases the use of matter and energy resources, cuts pollution, creates local jobs, and saves money. Cons. The impoverished who scavenge in open dumps are often exposed to toxins and infectious diseases. Examples: how to get involved include salvaging automobile parts from older cars and recovering materials from old houses and buildings. Yard sales, flea markets, and secondhand stores, traditional and online options, and technology have made it possible to now use rechargeable batteries. Using or reusing these things can make a huge difference. One case study shows the use of refillable containers. Two reusable items are refillable glass beverage bottles and refillable soft drink bottles. Reusing these containers saves energy, reduces CO2 emissions, air pollution, water pollution, and solid waste pollution, and stimulates local economies by creating local jobs related to their collecting and refilling. Big companies make money by producing and shipping their food and beverages in throwaway containers, which discourages local businesses like bottling companies and breweries from reusing containers. Parts of Canada and 11 U.S. states have bottle laws that place a deposit fee on all beverage containers. Retailers must accept the used containers and pass them on for recycling or reuse. Large companies try to keep bottle laws from passing, arguing that they lead to a loss of jobs and higher beverage costs for consumers. However, the areas with these laws have shown that more jobs are gained rather than lost. Costs to consumers have not risen, resources are saved, and roadside litter can be decreased. Denmark, Finland, and Canada's Prince Edward Island have all banned all beverage containers that cannot be reused.
Here are some more things you can do to help reuse and recycle materials. You can buy beverages in refillable glass containers instead of cans or throwaway bottles. You can use reusable plastic or metal lunchboxes. Carry sandwiches and store food in the refrigerator in reusable containers instead of wrapping them in aluminum foil or plastic wrap. Use rechargeable batteries and recycle them. Carry groceries and other items in a reusable basket, a canvas or string bag, or a small cart. Use reusable sponges and washable cloth napkins, dish towels, and handkerchiefs instead of throwaway paper ones. Buy used furniture, computers, cars, and other items instead of buying new ones. Give away or sell your items you no longer use. There are two types of recycling. Households and workplaces produce 5 major types of materials that can be recycled: paper products, glass, aluminum, steel, and some plastics. These can be processed in 2 ways. In primary or closed-loop recycling, these materials are recycled into new products of the same type. For example, turning used aluminum cans into new aluminum cans. In secondary recycling, waste materials are converted into different products. For example, used tires can be shredded and used for rubberized road surfacing. Scientists distinguish between 2 types of waste that can be recycled: pre-consumer or internal waste generated in a manufacturing process, and post-consumer or external waste generated by consumer use of the products.
So even though technologies for burying and burning solid wastes are well developed, burning these wastes contributes to pollution and greenhouse emissions, and buried waste eventually contribute to pollution and land degradation. So let's talk about burning waste. All over the world, MSW is burned in more than 600 large waste-to-energy incinerators, and 98 of those are in the U.S. These incinerators burn MSW to boil to make steam for heating water, space, or even for producing energy. In addition to producing energy, incinerators reduce the volume of solid waste by 90%. However, without expensive air pollution control devices, incinerators pollute the air with toxic metals and particulates. They also add CO2 to the atmosphere, but it's about 38% less than coal-burning power plants. Incinerators also produce large quantities of toxic bottom ash. Like I said before, these can be fixed with air pollution devices, but these are very expensive. In order to be economically feasible, incinerators must be fed huge amounts of volume of trash every day, and this discourages waste management. Now let's talk about burying trash. There are 2 types of landfills that we use. Those are open dumps and sanitary fields. Open dumps are fields with or holes in the ground where garbage is deposited and sometimes burned. Another type of landfill is a sanitary landfill. This is a very modern style. In these landfills, solid wastes are spread out in thin layers, and then they are compacted with a fresh layer of clay or plastic. These help keep the material dry, and it reduces the leakage of contaminated water from the landfill. It also lessens the risk of fire and decreases odor and reduces the accessibility to vermin. Vermin are all types of insects, parasites, rats, nothing that we want around us.